Imagine running around every dimension hoping to kill the multi-dimensional witch who's after you. The Baroness has immense powers and won't leave me alone. She came through a portal one day and started attacking me. My goal is to get strong enough to slay the witch Baroness. Will I be able to get the best loot in the multiverse? Will I be able to slay every boss that crosses my path? And will I be able to survive 100 days in hardcore multiversive madness? Let's find out. I found myself stranded in a world beyond our realm. A world in a new dimension. I didn't know where I was, but I knew it was only a matter of time before Baroness located me. So I needed to get stronger. This world was very similar to ours. There was greenery everywhere and many trees. I chopped down a tree and got some stranglewood. I started wandering around the place, hoping to find intelligent life, but all I could see were weird creatures. I entered a dense forest and came across a weird structure. I stepped on it. Sure enough, this thing was a dinosaur's nest. I have the worst luck in the entire universe. It was hard to kill these baby dinos with my pickaxe, but I managed to kill some and ran away. The sun was setting, so I climbed a tree and spent the night at the top. I couldn't sleep without a bed, so I stayed awake the entire night. When the sun rose, I saw a village on the north side. I went to the village and saw a bunch of villagers. They were being terrorized by a tiger with a long tooth. I quickly ran into the village to kill this creature, but my pickaxe would be no good. I went inside one of the houses where I saw a chest. Inside it was a sword. I took the sword and killed the tiger. The village people accepted me into their village and gave me a chest full of loot as a sign of goodwill. The chest had a lot of loot, my favorite amongst them being the sword. I decided to go to sleep now. If you're enjoying the journey so far, subscribe to the channel so you never miss any of my crazy adventures. I hope you subscribe. I tell the villagers my story and they feel sorry for me. Unfortunately, they can do nothing to help me as they don't know how I came here, but they knew who would have the answers. The corrupted traveler, a mystical being that resides in a high tower deep in the forest. So I know where I need to go now, but I'm not very happy because this is the same forest as the dino babies. The villagers tell me they are called apteryx. I need not be worried though. Now I have a sword. I said my goodbyes and now I'm on my way to the forest where the apteryx awaits me. I wander around for a while until I see a giant tower poking out between the green trees. I enter it, and it's empty. On my way out, I encounter the corrupted traveler. I tell him about my story.
Baroness, the evil witch is after you. You must have done something terrible, but I'm not here to judge.
Can you help me, though?
Yes, I can, but I won't.
But why?
I'm not going to become an enemy for whom the Baroness works. He's a dangerous enemy.
Please, I just want to go home.
I'm taking a risk by giving you this information, but I want something back. Bring me the head of a tyrosaur, and I'll give you the information. The tyrosaur can be found behind Mount Doom. It's 1,000 blocks south. Blow this horn when you get there, and it'll come.
All right. If I bring him the head, I can find a way to get out of here before Baroness shows up. The traveler was kind enough to let me sleep in his tower for the night. I woke up and started my journey towards Mount Doom. On my way there, I saw the village where I had stayed being attacked by minions of the Baroness. She's here. I don't have much time and need to get out fast. I finally made it to Mount Doom. Now I know why it's called Mount Doom. There's lava everywhere. One wrong step and you're done. I blew the horn and the boss appeared. It was a hard-fought battle. The tyrosaur slammed into me a couple of times, but thanks to my sword, the battle was easier than expected. Regarding attacking patterns, the boss wasn't very inventive, but he had a monstrous health bar. It took time, but I slew him eventually. Unfortunately, it didn't drop the head, so I had to kill him many times to get the head. After killing the boss 4 to 5 times, I got the head, a couple sets of armor, a sword, and a staff. I took that loot and started running back towards the Traveler's Tower. On my way back, I was encountered by the Baroness's minions. Fortunately, they are dumb as they come, so I killed them with my newfound sword. But one of them got away. It was only a matter of time before it reported to the Baroness. I entered the Traveler's Tower and gave him the head. He was overjoyed. He couldn't believe I went through it. He told me how to get out. Apparently, I'm in a dimension called Percasia. There are a lot of dimensions that I can access using the information in this worn book. He then gave me the worn book, one realm stone, and a multiverse map. I learned a lot of things about multidimensional travel over here, as I can now go back to my house if I build the right portal. Also, once you travel through a dimension, your body takes at least an hour to become accustomed to the new place. And during this time, you can't travel to another dimension. With the traveler's help, I built the portal frame, and the Baroness found me just when I was about to enter the overworld. She was pissed. Baroness summoned the skeletal army, a whole army of skelepigs, skelemen, and all sorts of crazy skele creatures attacked us. The traveler used his magical powers to attack them, and we fought the many waves the Baroness kept summoning. The traveler unexpectedly helped me out a lot. With the traveler's help, we finally saw the Skeletron, probably the final boss. After defeating it, I managed to acquire the skeletal sword. I grabbed the skeletal sword and ran as fast as possible through the portal while the traveler kept Baroness busy. No, not again! I've landed in another dimension, which isn't anything like our overworld. God, I hate multiversal travel. This place isn't half bad. It's made out of candy. I destroyed the portal and took the portal blocks with me. Wandering around this strange pink land, I encountered a lot of hostile mobs. After traveling for thousands of blocks, I came across a house, a gingerbread house. Maybe inhabitants of this world live here. So I went in. As soon as I stepped inside the house, a swarm of gingerbread men came at me. I guess they don't like uninvited guests. They didn't speak our language, so they were of no use to me. So I kept moving on. I encountered an NPC stranded on a long candy cane on my journey. I rescued him. To my amazement, this man could speak our language. He said he was afraid of returning to his house as a monster had been ravaging his crops and came after him last night. I decided to help this poor soul by slaying the monster. He took me to where he had built his house. It was a weird structure, but maybe odd is the norm in this dimension. I didn't care much about his home and went in. I said there were no monsters around, but he insisted that I stay as the beast was somewhere in hiding. I stayed inside the house for a while, and when I got bored, I was on my way out. This is where I saw the most terrifying looking candy in my life. A candy beast. He quickly started attacking me. This monster was called the Cotton Candor and was quick on his feet. I couldn't defeat him with a melee weapon, so I took out my staff and started attacking him. It was a long fought battle, but after several hours of fighting this monster, I finally managed to slay it. The man was happy that I had killed the beast terrorizing him. I went into the house to heal from the damage the boss had inflicted on me. I sat for a while when the man started telling his story. His name was Gazia, and he was not from Candyland. He had been forced to come here as his homeworld was destroyed, and you won't believe who destroyed his world. It was the Baroness. He had tried to stop the Baroness but wasn't able to. He told me that the Baroness is a multi-dimensional witch who works for anyone who will grant her more power. She has managed to ruin hundreds of dimensions in the process and will destroy mine too. I asked Gazia if he had any clue on how to kill her. He didn't know how to kill the Baroness, but he knew how we could find that out. To the south of Candyland, there exists a huge dungeon, at the top of which there resides a great book of power. Then Gazia can decipher the text and look at Baroness's weaknesses. So we're off to the dungeon. We traveled for a while till we reached the dungeon. The tower didn't look like a dungeon at all. Candy canes were sticking out of the towers. I readied my sword and stepped in. I faced minions a little stronger than the last ones. It wasn't very hard to kill them. The last level, where the library was located, was empty, with no one inside. So I quickly started looking for the Book of Power. I found it sitting on a lectern, but as soon as I made my way to the lectern, a weird creature appeared. Then it asked why I was there. I told him about my story, but he was not convinced. The Book of Power isn't to be tampered with by mortals. And at last, I started attacking him too. Don't do this. He was on the verge of death. You will face the consequences of your transgressions, Ruby. How did this man know my name? But I couldn't waste time thinking about it now, so I took the book and went down. We took the book and went home, where Gazia started reading it. I decided to rest for the day. I woke up well rested. The same can't be said for Gazia. That poor soul had spent the entire night studying the book. Also, he had brewed many night vision potions. I wonder why. Gazia had completed the entire book and knew just how to defeat Baroness now. He said he didn't have time and asked me to follow him. He'll explain everything on the way. There exist 4 items across 4 different dimensions. These items, when used alone, won't even scratch Baroness, but bring them together and you can slay her for good. Because of this, Baroness has created 4 different monsters to protect each of them. Each monster is very hard to kill and is situated in 4 different worlds. We need to get each item, head out to the world of the Baroness, and kill her. So that's what we're gonna do today. But first, we need a way out. I told Gazia about the Realm Stone and the portal frame I had. He took these items from me and we continued on our journey. We stopped after reaching a weird structure. We entered the dark portal and were transported to the world of dystopia. I kept following Gazia. He had been silent since we came here.
Look what the evil witch has done to my world. I grew up here.
We reached a broken house structure. It was where Gazia lived before.
We are looking for the Shrine of the Primordial Five. The Guardian's Baroness left in charge of this world.
It wasn't very hard to locate the shrine. It was huge, almost 200 blocks high. We entered the building and went up to the throne where one of the Primordial Five was sitting.
How dare you enter my lair? I thought we have gotten rid of you for good, Professor.
I'm not alone this time.
I went up from behind and attacked the boss. Pijaros was the one I was fighting. First, he didn't know a lot of moves. It seemed as if I made easy work of him, but as soon as he died, he transformed into Miskel. This one was a hard battle. Miskel kept darkening the entire area. The darkness was blinding, and he got a lot of hits. Somehow, Miskel was killed as well. Harkos appeared. He was fast, like really fast. My head started to spin and everything started to get blurry.
Don't breathe the air. It's filled with Raxon's blood,
shouted Gazia. I did what he said, but it was too late. I already had taken in a lot of air. I used my ranged weapon to kill him. After battling him for a while, he went down, and Okazor showed up. He was the toughest of them all. He managed to get a strong hit on me. I was down to my last heart, and Okazor came charging. This is when Gazia landed the critical hit on it. Okazor was stunned, and Gazia helped me get up, but Okazor managed to hit Gazia. In a rage, I shouted and stabbed Okazor with all the force I could muster up. The Primordial Five were slain. At last, I quickly grabbed the armor they had dropped. I tended to Gazia's wound. Fortunately, he wasn't badly injured and will recover soon. With the Primordial Five killed, the world was cleansed of evil. We went outside to get a breath of fresh air. The professor was amazed that the Primordial Five were slain at last, but the happiness didn't last long as he suddenly was terrified.
You have to leave now. Baroness surely has got a whim of what you're up to. She has felt the Primordial Five go down. Before she goes and fortifies every other monster, you must go and kill them first. Make haste.
Gazia was right. I took the portal blocks. With a heavy heart, I entered the portal. On the other side of the portal, I found a world not as dark as dystopia, but not as pleasant as our overworld. The world stank with a foul smell. It was Iramine. The yellowish nature in this world wasn't my favorite. It looked like it was sick. I quickly started hunting down the next monster, Craxius, a king who rules with an iron fist over the world of Iramine. I knew Craxius lived in a castle, so I looked for signs of civilization. The castle would probably be near some village. I didn't find any village, but I found a weird-looking lab. A professor showed up. I told him everything I had been through. He sympathized with me and told me to wait in a room till he made a map for me. I suddenly started feeling dizzy and was about to black out. The professor gave out a nasty laugh and my eyes closed. I woke up to the sound of much commotion. I was in the middle of an arena. There weren't many people here, but I saw Craxius on the throne along with the pesky professor. I heard a terrifying scream coming from the arena's caves. The monster finally came out. It was a Tyrannosaur. This isn't hard to kill at all, but Craxius thinks this is a hard battle. I kept toying with the beast until I reached a gate. Here I slew the beast and ran into the castle. The minions came after me. I killed some, but they quickly overwhelmed me. I entered one of the rooms and I started looking for my stuff. Fortunately, these people are dumb and had kept my stuff in the weapons room. I suited up and was about to leave when Craxius showed up on his flying device. I started attacking this idiot with my staff, but he wasn't very powerful. I quickly managed to kill his flying machine. He was on the ground now and was hard to attack. The battle raged for a while. Craxius was down to low health when he started to cheat. He called in his minions to attack me. This is hard. Fighting the boss along with his minions is just not fair. He was fuming with rage. This was when I stabbed him to death. It was over. All his minions ran away, seeing their boss go down. I took the head of Craxius and took it into the castle. No one dared to touch me. I found a nice room, went inside, and slept like a baby. The following day, I woke up and asked the professor why the boss didn't drop her protector time for the Baroness. He was reluctant, but when I hit him, he started to talk. Apparently, Craxius isn't the protector. It's the Mechabot. That Baroness sure is one smart woman. Take me to the Mechabot at once, old man. He took me to a weird-looking structure where he would summon the Mechabot. The professor summoned the Mechabot. This monster is what the name suggests. a mechanized robot. The Mechabot was really brutal. He was blowing up every second. I was not getting a single hit on this monster. It was a hard-fought battle, but after learning his attack patterns, I was able to predict his moves and managed to slay it. I was out of breath. The Mechabot dropped the great sword that I wanted. But before I managed to grab it, the professor stole it and ran away. I was injured and couldn't attack him. I chased him for a while, and you won't believe what happened. The professor got attacked by Iron Mine hostile mobs. So he just left the sword on the ground and ran away, but still was slain by the mobs. I killed the mobs and took the sword. I decided to rest in the professor's house for a while. The professor was pure evil, but his house was very nice. And there were a lot of supplies and loot that I could get from the lab. There was also a basement where random mobs from different dimensions were kept. He had space helmets, diving suits, and a lot of gear. After recovering from the intense fighting I had with the boss over the last few days, I was ready to jump into another dimension to grab the third item. According to Geisha, the next protector item is in Runador. I can't wait to get away from this stinking dimension. I was about to start building a portal when I heard a door knock. I wonder who it might be. I stayed calm and looked through the window. It was the Baroness! Why has she come here? I hid below a trapdoor. The Baroness came in looking for the professor. She looked around and was about to leave when one of her minions came near the trapdoor. Baroness followed the lead. They were about to open the trapdoor when someone shouted from outside.
High Priestess! The Mechabot has been slain!
Hearing this, Baroness was filled with rage. She sent a shockwave across the room and killed the messenger.
Ruby will pay for what she has done. Now this is personal. I no longer am following anyone's command. The deal was to bring you alive to him, but now that won't be the case. The next time I see you, I'll make sure to kill you. Minions, bring in all the force from our dimension and search every corner of Iron Mine. Get that Craxus to help you as well. High Priestess, he's dead too. I can't wait to meet you, Ruby. The moment you open a portal, I'll detect you thanks to your ruby necklace.
Saying this, Baroness opened up a portal and went through it. What? My necklace is giving up my location? How is that possible? I don't care if it's true. If that necklace is giving up my location, I better hide it in Iremide and return for it later. I dug deep into the ground of Iremide and stored my necklace in a chest. I decided to create the portal underground. When I lit the portal, it was the same color that the Baroness entered. So Runador is off the plans for the time being. She probably is waiting there, expecting me to show up. So I built another portal, this time to outer space. I can't survive without an oxygen helmet. I saw that in the professor's lab. I went up to distracted minions and took the helmet. Jumping through the portal, I landed in Lunalus. Wow, I can jump really high. I hid for a while. I was expecting Baroness, but she didn't come. The ruby was giving up my location. I was looking for the alien hive mind called Bane. He controls the entire dimension through his mind, and it will be hard to get hold of him. I explored this weird dimension for a while. It was devoid of any life on the outside, but while exploring, I got trapped in one of the infested asteroids, and swarms of these space mobs were attacking me. I got no loot by killing them, but I found a chest containing a gun. I took the gun and came out of the asteroid. In the distance, I saw a massive ship. So that's where I'm heading now. The ship was filled with guards at every door. I snuck in somehow and reached the main room. It was massive! I saw a weird entity standing on the small pillar where the other minions did their business. Yeah, I'm sure that entity is a Bane. Let's not waste any time. I jumped out and killed all the minions one by one, and then started my battle with Bane. Bane was unlike anything I had faced until this point. Why? It was solid, moved around like a freak, and multiplied. There were swarms of Banes coming at me at a time. I stood up on his pillar and started shooting it from there. He quickly adapted and I was thrown from the pillar. Huh? What is it saying? Who cares? I started to notice that Bane's health was declining, so I upped my game and hit it with even more tenacity. After it came down to low HP, the job was easy for me. But I knew the moment I killed him, Baroness would be alerted. So I quickly ran out of the room, built a new portal, activated it, and returned to the Bane fight. I came back expecting Bane to be on the verge of death, but he had replenished his health using his ship's power sources. I was hit by one of his minions and was getting overwhelmed. How can there be so many of them? Somehow I managed to kill them and ran towards the power source behind Bane. I destroyed every power source with my pickaxe. A slimy green fluid emerged and reeked. Why do interdimensional places have to be stinky? Bane has weakened once again and I killed it. It dropped in armor. I took it and ran across the room. The ship started to tremble. I heard a nasty screech coming from behind me. It was Baroness. She had arrived and she looked super pissed.
Enough! You will pay for this, Ruby!
We'll see. Now I'm in a pickle. The Baroness will be here in an hour. Runador isn't safe for me, but I can't go back without the next item. I quickly started hunting down the Shroomus, the Mushroom King of Runador. It has the last protector item. If I can get it before Baroness, I'm done. I ran across Lunador looking for signs of this weird mushroom man that Geisha described. I was out of luck. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I didn't need to find it actually, because you know what? It found me. The Baroness had advised it to attack me as soon as I came through the portal. At first, I thought Baroness had made my job easy, but the Shroomus was no easy boss, and the Baroness had made him even more powerful. It gave me a word dizzy effect. I couldn't focus, and it attacked me brutally. Already tired from the last few battles, I couldn't fight properly. But after I learned its attack patterns, I was able to start chipping some damage. Very soon, it was down to low health. I landed the final blow and the Shroomus was killed. But when I picked the last item, it vanished. The Baroness appeared.
You thought I'd just let you get all the time with ease? I didn't become the master of the multiverse and the high priestess by praying. I earned it all by slaying all my enemies. And you, Ruby, just made me immortal. You see, the protector items were created by Diogenes, my master. He became wary of my evil ways and decided to put a failsafe mechanism in place to control me if I went rogue. I did go rogue, but Master didn't kill me. I killed him.
The Baroness threw a massive energy ball at me. Is this it? Is this how it ends for me? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath.
Ruby!
Huh? Who's shouting my name? I jumped on the dragon with Geisha and flew away. The Baroness was still stunned. I started laughing, and so did Geisha.
After what you have done for my world and their people, I couldn't let you die at the hand of the Baroness. Let's get out of this place.
After we reached Dystopia, which was now green like Percasia was, I told him about the serious incident.
You still have the rest of the item. I say we challenge her like this. It's our best choice.
We were going to go to Barathos and challenge Baroness for a battle, and I didn't care if she was immortal. I'll give it my all, and if I didn't win, I went out trying. I geared up for battle and was ready to hop through the portal when I asked Geisha to bring me my ruby necklace from Iremine. He brought it, and we jumped into Barathos. The Baroness's arena is where we were headed. The Baroness's world was devoid of any life and evil, just like Baroness. We went inside the arena and Geisha placed the item to summon Baroness. He clicked it and there she was.
Are you dumb? You just made my job a lot easier. It's like a mouse came to a cat voluntarily.
Shut up, witch. I don't care if you're immortal. I have nothing to lose.
We'll see.
And so began the final battle. Both Geisha and I dodged her attacks for the first half of the battle. It was intense. The Baroness kept flying around the arena. Once we got hold of her strategy, we started to land hits. Geisha's attacks were of no use, but my sword was damaging, as it was one of the protector items. The Baroness was stunned when she got damaged.
How's this possible? I'm immortal! You can't hurt me!
But I was hurting her, so I kept attacking her. She was getting enraged. This was when my ruby started glowing.
It's your ruby, isn't it? The necklace is doing this to me! I'm going to get that off your head!
She came at me with full force, but I kept attacking. It was an intense battle. She even summoned minions to attack me. But eventually, her health went down. This was when she summoned aid, and the Hive King showed up. Both these bosses at the same time were really hard to fight together, but we kept attacking persistently. And at last, the Baroness died. A nasty scream was heard on her death. I fell to the ground. Geisha came up and tended to my wounds. We spent the rest of the day in Barathos, resting. I can finally return to my beautiful house. It's been 100 days and I've managed to survive this multiverse of madness. I then took Geisha to my world, and we spent a lot of time hanging out and reminiscing about our adventure. Everything was peaceful once again, and I couldn't be happier. It was tough to beat that boss, but I enjoyed the adventure. If you did too, subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any other episode of Craft Adventures.